right. I get nervous speaking by the students too, so that's just a part of it. John emailed me last night and asked me to come up with a devotional for today, and so I spent some time thinking about it. I always believe that some of the best devotionals or sermons come from things that God's teaching you right in the moment, and being a little bit vulnerable with that, and it falls into line with what Brittany suggested yesterday, that we are a family, but we've also had a lot of changes to our family, and so a lot of you don't know me. So I thought I would share a little bit of my heart, a little bit of my story. It's not the whole thing. I won't keep it as long as Jay can talk. I don't think I can ever talk to him.
Say what it's been done.
I'm not going to say that.
Done here.
But I settled on Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11 is called the what? By faith passage, right? So we all are familiar with that. I'm going to focus in on verses 13 to 16. These all died in faith. These referring to all these previous testimonies of great faith warriors previous that have been mentioned in the passage. These all died in faith, not having received the things promised, but having seen them and greeted them from afar, and having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. For people who speak thus make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have had the opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. So the word home is extremely important to me. It's very significant. I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota, in a very picturesque northern lake surrounded by acres of woods. One of the first things I did when I came to this classroom was go back to that map and see if Duluth is on there. It is. Yeah, Minnesota. I have a mom and a dad, 2 older siblings, and I grew up in a very genuinely loving Christian home. I'm very, very blessed with how I grew up. We were very open to loving others and offering that stability to people who might need it, and it was never an issue for me. Home was always a safe place. It wasn't something that I experienced trauma in. You know, the trauma training from the other day just astounds me because I know that's what our students face, and I'm very blessed to be able to say that I didn't have to go through a lot of what our students face. I can honestly say that where I grew up was vacation. It was on a small lake with acres of woods, so I played in the woods, I built forts, I went swimming, we went ice skating in the winter, went ice fishing. You can actually park a house on a lake in the winter in Minnesota. Go fishing anytime you want. Some people are like, that's crazy, but it's awesome. And home for me was this dingy little house. It wasn't a nice house by any means, but it worked for us, and we were very blessed. And I never imagined it would be something I'd have to give up or walk away from. I always believed that would be my home. I knew I'd grow up, move away, but home was always going to be there. I had dreams of owning the property myself one day. I really wanted to get married on the lake, and I wanted to raise my own family. When I was 26, that home was taken away from us. Well, my parents had rented the house since we moved in, and when they had moved in when my mom was expecting me, and it had been the only home I knew, of course, but our landlady passed away. And while she had always talked about passing on the home to us and letting us buy it, her kids decided differently. We didn't get to keep it. I was pretty devastated, and I was sure that I'd never feel at home again, and for a while I really didn't. I lived in various places, but home, in that true sense, that really like calm, secure spot, wasn't something I would fly to anywhere else that I lived. And I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere else, except for that home in Minnesota. Then, quite unexpectedly, God brought me here in 2015. I was not looking to move here, believe me. I was about to move to Italy for at least a year. That was my plan. And God had taken me as far along on that path as to the point that I sold a bunch of my stuff. I had condensed things and put them in storage at my parents' garage, and I was living in my sister's basement with just enough that I was going to move to Italy with. So when this opportunity came up and Italy fell through, I was packed. I was ready to go. It wasn't a hard move. And my first year here was really full of ups and downs. I learned a lot. If it hadn't been for students and staff and faculty here, I never would have come back that second year, I promise you. I did not return a second year of teaching because I love teaching. I didn't return here because of Matthew's vision. I returned because of you. My second and third years here, I'm going to get emotional. My second and third years here, those relationships grew exponentially. I became a part of a family, friends who have become family. And those are the years that God taught me about home through this passage I go back to. Verse 13, all these people died in faith, not having received what was promised, but having seen it and greeted them from afar, and having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. We are not made for this world. C.S. Lewis is quoted as saying, if we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. No wonder I was constantly feeling lost, and like I didn't belong fully anywhere or didn't have a home. I don't. Actually that's a beautiful promise. One of the things we strive to do here is to create a home for our students. We want them to feel safe and secure and know that they belong. We do all these things to show them that they can fit, that they're a part of the Mackey family, and that's great. But I think there's more to it, because the truth is that we are still never going to be enough for them. We can provide them with much. We can strive to give them this really wonderful experience filled with memories and a chance to build their own family units here. But we are still not enough. And part of what we get to teach them is that they are not made for this world. So it's okay if we're never quite enough. Verse 15 says that if they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have had the opportunity to return. There's a temptation for home to always remain the same. We want home to be predictable, we want it to be stable, and always what we know. Similar to how I felt with my home in Friedenberg. Nothing else was ever going to be home to me. And perhaps if I'd made different choices, or if my parents had pushed to buy the land sooner, we could have kept it and could have continued to be our home. But God desired more for us and for me. My family changed and grew eventually. Both my siblings are married, and I have 3 beautiful nieces and a nephew, and I cannot imagine them not being a part of what I now call my home. Scripture always reminds us that we're part of a bigger picture. And these are great examples in this passage of people who had faith, and they walked through their story even though they never actually saw the full final result of where they walked. And they had to leave their previous homes behind. They also acknowledged that they were never quite yet home. Part of our frustration and pain in life often stems from the fact that we desire a better country and aren't made for this world, but we don't recognize that that's part of what's frustrating us. We also are frustrated when we don't see the results of our hard work. Maybe it comes in a student not making it the way we thought, or in our own goals and timing not being met in the way that we want. Truly, honestly, we may never receive what's promised, at least not fully. Are you willing to be a part of building this home and build an essence of home to these students even without getting the full reward of getting to see it yourself? The truth is our home is going to change. The truth is that in my 4th year here last year, the home that I knew here at MacU and the way that we worked changed. I felt that pain. Whew. My family is a little more spread out, but it doesn't lessen the home that we've built. And then the separation that I'm experiencing now is teaching me once again that this home is not it. My family, my home, has taught me that I'm made for more than this, and ultimately will be fulfilled in our heavenly home yet to come. Much has changed. And if yesterday was any indication, we have a lot more change to do. But that's where the vision of home is part of what we are creating and how we're striving for it together. So guys, remember that this is not our home. This is only part of it. This isn't it. This is not all there is. This isn't our final destination, but this is a reflection of our eternal home. We get to be a reflection by hosting students who come through and get to be a part of our home here for whatever time God has for them to be here. But we need to teach them to long for and strive for their eternal home. In our transforming ordinary people into extraordinary Christian leaders, we are part of their home. My home now is made up of various places and people that I've known. My home is spread out all over the country, even into parts of the world. Matthew is forever a part of what I will understand as home, and I'm okay with it not being fully enough, but I'm thankful for it. So let's strive for our eternal home this year, knowing